What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing Ryan Fowler's brand new 2025 NFL mock draft. If you already know, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. This is released as of like the night of the 22nd, so hopefully the draft order's in, but super excited for this. I'm going to be pre-recording a bit of content because I'm going on some trips, but do not worry. This week I'm trying my best to get a video every single week because I want you guys, or every single day, excuse me, because I want to give you guys that gift. Might miss one day, but I do have a massive amount of content planned for you guys, and I'm super excited for it, and it might include a 2026 mock draft. So if you are new, feel free to stick around for that. Below my face is my board. It's based on all 22 grades, and that's exclusive. I don't get to move guys up and down based on how I feel. I do it based on my grades because I need to honor the fact that if my eyes see something, my eyes see something. And so that allows you to also get a little sneak peek at what my grades are going to be. And if you guys wonder why I grade guys the way I do, over on my X page, which is 2 clicks away, go to that link tree and then click on that link to get to the X page. You get to see all 22 clips that I end up posting there for you guys to see why I believe what I believe. But let's get into this. Let's have a good time. Obviously, the Draft Network's a great site. Love them to death. Hoping one day maybe we could be able to get some collaboration between some Hail Mary Sports and the Draft Network. But for the time being, we're here just to enjoy and be able to comment. At number 1 overall, the Giants go with Cam Ward. By the way, sorry to the Raiders fans. All you guys know is pain. You guys dropped to 6th. So based on this, yep, it is up to date. So I'm excited to see. But Cam Ward goes to the Giants. He's the most talented quarterback in the class. And my only concern is that, 5 years essentially into his career, he's still making mistakes of someone who could be like a true freshman. Like some of his poor decisions are really, really poor decisions. So my big concern there for the Giants, but they end up getting their guy. At number 2, the Patriots go Travis Hunter, cornerback out of Colorado. I assume that's what he's going to play. And, he can end up moonlighting for a couple reps at receiver from time to time, add a little change of pace there. But if he does fail at this position, I've talked about this in a couple of my mock drafts. Someone brought this up and I thought it was brilliant. He could eventually transition to free safety, and I think he might be one of the best. Like, essentially, talk about Kalen Bullock on steroids. Like, Kalen Bullock's already doing a great job being a ball hawk. Imagine the skill of Travis Hunter, who is even better. I think that could be arguably the best free safety in the entire NFL if he does end up playing that position. But regardless, Travis Hunter, he's one of the best players in the class, so at least the Patriots are minimizing their risk when you take him. Jaguars get Will Johnson. It's the dream pick. I'm perfectly fine with that. Best player in the class, one of the best players, not the best player I've ever studied. And to be fair, ever graded. Big asterisk there because you guys know grading is something that I've been doing relatively more recently in my scouting, air quotes, career. But regardless, Will Johnson's been fantastic. Tennessee Titans then go Kelvin Banks at 4. It's intriguing to see, I don't know. I wouldn't blame the Titans for doing this. I need to get back on board with Kelvin Banks. It's solely my opinion of Kelvin Banks that holds me back from loving this. But going offensive tackle is never a bad idea. You need to be able to fix the offensive line first before you try to spend picks on quarterback and all that other stuff. Now, I do think that Shedeur Sanders would work with Brian Callahan. Kind of is used to a similar profile of that in Joe Burrow, which I think Joe Burrow is obviously a clear tier or multiple tiers at least above Shedeur Sanders. But I think that could work in that system. But regardless, fixing the offensive line, never a bad idea. Mason Graham goes to the Browns at pick number 5. Mason Graham's a great player. You pair him up there with Michael Hall, and you might have an explosive pass rushing duo that not many teams could stop. Shedeur still goes to the Raiders at 6. If they can end up moving all the way down to 6 and still get the guy that people would say go to him at 1, I think I called that a win. 7, the Panthers go Abdul the Duel. No, that's not his nickname. But I don't know why the hell I just said that. Abdul Carter to the Panthers at 7. That's kind of what you could dream of. Maybe Mason Graham would be more valuable just because of the fact that you can still get really, really good edges down the board, and defensive interiors that are consistent are a little bit harder to find, in my opinion. But regardless, you got yourself it's 1A and 1B right there, and you got one of the top guys. The Jets go Michael Williams here at 8. I want to read this with you guys. This is a live reaction, of course. The flashes of dominance are there. Williams is NBA-like length, elite athletic profile, alignment versatility to complement other faces up front. So, I think that just pretty much declaring that Williams is going to be a fit there, I mean, I guess you could talk about him being similar in frame to Jermaine Johnson, who, pretty sure like he's not the guy that they kind of drafted early in not early in the first, but as a first round selection a couple years ago. I do think that they could end up upgrading on the edge outside of Will McDonald. If they're going to do that, though, I don't know if they're going to go for the Williams body type, because technically with Clemens as well now as Johnson, hasn't worked at the rate that it has for Will McDonald. So I don't know if they would go with that route, because you still have guys like Jalen Walker. Jahad Campbell is like a dark horse one if they want to trade down and get some pick capital back. But that all aside, I think that the Jets have a lot of opportunities to be able to do the right thing. Micah Williams might not be one of those ones, maybe because I also am relatively biased against Williams, but I don't know if he's going to be the type of guy that I support, and there's a lot of them that I do. Bears go Josh Simmons, excellent move. I mean, you can't go wrong with going one of the top, if not the top offensive lineman in the class. To me, he is. I mean, you see where his grade is before the injury, 82.25, spoiler alert, but Josh Simmons was fantastic, and he's going to come back, and he's still going to do a fantastic job. The Bears cannot not take offensive linemen early in this draft. The question is, can they afford to pass on it in the first? I do think they could, but at the same time, if they go for one in the first, I'm going to be far from the first person to criticize it. Then you got Shamar Stewart at 10 to the Saints. Shamar is someone who needs a lot of development. I think that's something he doesn't get enough criticism for. He's such a fun athlete at 290, like arguably the best athlete I've ever seen at that size. But I do want to say that he is very raw, and I don't think he's better than Nick Scorton. But the Saints are the type of team to take a project like that. They took Foskey, Turner, etc., and Davenport. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I also think that, I mean, I love this part right here. He moves like a man who's 40 or 50 pounds lighter. Like, he's going to go up draft boards in the offseason, but shoot, dude, I just don't think he's ready. And it's just very similar to Travon Walker, where we're just starting to see Travon like get into his own. And to be fair, he's had some very solid years, but Travon was the number 1 overall pick, and he was, for me, graded like a 74 before. Let's just say Shamar's not graded at a 70 yet. And so there is a legitimate teardrop from Travon Walker to Shamar Stewart. And like, so far, we haven't really seen this style of edge rusher really work. So, I mean, the ones that are unpolished at this size, it's not something that could work early on. So you'd be taking a big project, and in deep edge class, I don't know if I would be willing to roll the dice in the first on that. Ariante Irsary goes at 11 to the Niners. I literally texted RJ Gillen, who is the scouting director for the 49ers, months ago when I was watching Ariante Irsary for the first time. I was like, you're going to really like this guy. And I really think that the Niners are set to be able to get Irsary. I love it to death. At 12, we got the Cowboys going Luther Burden. I think Luther Burden just belongs in the slot. That's my thing. I think that if you have Tetairoa McMillan available and you can use him as a boundary with CD in the slot lurking, I think that you're in really good hands. And you can have someone, you could end up going after someone like Tez Johnson if you want to, but like, let's just say you don't even go after a wide receiver. Ryan Flournoy could end up being that Brandon Cooks replacement. I really liked Ryan Flournoy, but regardless, I think there could be a little bit better versatility with other wide receivers in the core rather than Luther Burden. Walter Nolan goes at 13 to the Dolphins. We're also seeing the running backs drop, but we'll talk about that when they get taken. Walter Nolan, I'm just not super duper high on. I have a top 15 defensive interior video out, which you guys can check out. Walter Nolan's still someone who I love to death, but I do have a much more reserved opinion of his game, and it will be very focused on where he goes in the draft. I think if he goes like to the Miami Dolphins, I'm going to have a lot more optimism for his game than maybe some other locations, but I mean, I do think that his success was almost predicated more on the failure of offensive line than his ability. It's a hot take, but I do end up I ended up watching his best game this year versus LSU, where he very easily could have shined, and I did not really see him do that. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. I really do, but I mean, it's at least worth noting that, I think this is very possible, but I'm putting my 2 cents in there. Colts go Malachi Starks. I mean, a great pick. The only reason this dude's been getting cooked is you just don't put him one-on-one versus fast receivers. His top speed just is not there. And I'm pretty sure Matt Golden was the one who got the best of Starks. Just let this guy be a safety, which is exactly what he'd be there in Indianapolis. At 15, the Bengals go Nick Scorton. First off, love that jersey edit, but Nick Scorton to the Bengals makes a ton of sense. I mean, you're essentially getting Miles Murphy 2.0. It sucks that he hasn't been able to pan out. It's weird seeing him drop off. Like, I don't get that. I don't understand what's going on there, but at the same time, like, sometimes you just got to call a loss, and you just got to study a little bit more. For my Bengals fans, if you guys want to chime in as to why he just has not been a success, feel free to, but Nick Scorton, they do need to address defense and solid value there. T-Mac goes to the Cardinals at 16. That would be absolutely ridiculous. I mean, especially if the Bengals pass on him, like Bengals, even the Dolphins for that matter, but you can also talk about the Saints. I think it would be kind of ludicrous to see T-Mac at 16. Now, he is updated. And for you guys wondering, I'm going to probably do my top receivers video next, because I think that rather than doing like all 60 of them at once, I'm going to wait till the offseason, make sure we got all the combine numbers and everything before we drop that. T-Mac is not graded as an all-around starter. Like, if you're just looking and saying, hey, I'm going to close my eyes and it doesn't matter what team, I'm going to throw a dart and, like, that's the team Tetero is going to go to, like, and you're asking for my confidence, I have him graded below a starting grade. Like, I think he's very role-specific, but in that said role, he would be my number 9 overall player in the class. So I do want to put that out there. If he lands in the perfect spot, he's a top 10 player. The Cardinals is not one of those spots, so that's why I'm not very enthused about it. So just keep that in mind. But I think the Cardinals have a lot bigger issues to solve. Seahawks go Donovan Jackson. They need guard, and Donovan Jackson's great at that. Could fill in at tackle if need be as well. James Pierce goes to the Falcons. Love it. James Pierce is a fantastic edge rusher. Pretty much will be what they're hoping to get out of Braylon Trice from the 3rd round. Then at number 19, the Bucs go Jalen Walker. Fantastic value as well to replace Joe Tryon Shoyinka. I'm a huge fan of that move right there. Colston Loveland goes to the Chargers at 20. It's just the cute pick. Tight end from Harbaugh goes to Harbaugh. And it's a team that needs a tight end as well. And Harbaugh loves tight ends. Makes sense. It all adds up. Ashton Jeanty somehow slips to 21. Like, RB1 is class closer than it's perceived. Like, both Amarian and Caleb Johnson made push over the... Okay, I'm just going to be so for real. Caleb Johnson, you guys can check out my top 20, it's technically 21 running backs video. Caleb Johnson isn't in the top 10. I'm not saying I'm 100% right. I'm just saying, like, I think it was pretty obvious that Caleb Johnson was not as good as what people want to say. And I want Caleb Johnson to be great. Like, I love Iowa players. Like, I love them to death. So keep that in mind as well. But Amari Hampton, he has the same exact grade as Ashton Jeanty for me. And then you can see him right there at 5 and 6 respectively. That is adjusted for positional value. Technically, they would be at number 2 and 3 respectively without it. I think they're game-changing backs. The Houston Texans would just basically be taking the best player available. Josh Connolly goes to the Broncos at 22. What? Okay, so they recently opposite of the recently extended Garrett Bowles. I didn't really think that McGlinchey was going to get moved on from. I thought he still had a pretty hefty contract. I'm not 100% sure if they're like, that's on me for not knowing that off the top of my head. But I mean, Josh Connerly, he just kind of came into 1st round form, and then moving him to right tackle seems a little bit of an interesting move for someone who is 6'4" and 315. Will Campbell goes to the Rams. Again, it's another one where I'm like, man, can we just swap these two? Because I think Will Campbell could be interior for the Denver Broncos, and you can kind of pair him up with Quinn Minor. It's up there for the future and make probably one of the best guard duos in the NFL. And Josh Connerly could be a true left tackle there for the Rams. I guess at 23, it's worth the risk, but I do worry that the Rams have paid multiple guards, and Will Campbell, I do not fully trust him as a tackle. So, have my opinions there. But I guess at 23, it's worth rolling the dice. At 24, you got Josiah Stewart to the Commanders. He's been statistically incredible this year. I do think that they are a team that could be a dark horse pick for Omari and Hampton. But that aside, I think Washington Commanders getting edge rush help is great. I would just probably push back on the 6'1", 245 frame. But at the same time, we also have someone who is 6'2", 245 that was taken there at pick 19. So, I mean, to be fair, you have some pretty solid counters there. Josiah Stewart's been fantastic. I would lose my marbles if the Steelers went Jalen Milroe in the 1st. I'm a Steelers fan, and I know that our quarterback situation is not perfect. But just force, like, this feels so Kenny Pickett. And for all the opposite reasons, like, Kenny Pickett was just like the safe bet Pittsburgh guy, like, just kind of like built the play in Pittsburgh. Like, you can't really go wrong with him, but necessarily not right, which then it ended up turning out you could go wrong, but gonna leave that there. Jalen Milroe, first off, plays in Alabama. He's not Pennsylvania built, so we don't even know how he can truly play versus, like, let's just say how SMU ended up facing Penn State in the playoff. Like, I don't know how Jalen Milroe would play versus him. I know how he will play versus Vanderbilt. Well, actually, he did pretty well versus Vanderbilt. I take that back. But versus Oklahoma, just going to put that out there. Jalen Milroe needs to go back to school. I'm not going to shit on Jalen Milroe to the point where I'm saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm saying he's not ready. He needs way more time to incubate, so to speak, and he sure as hell is not worth a first-round pick right now. But I'm not saying that he wouldn't go in the first. I'm not going to get on Ryan Fowler for taking him in the first. I'm just giving you my opinion of how I'd react. And I don't think Jalen Milroe has earned this at all. Not one bit. There's not 1 ounce of Jalen Milroe that is worth a first-round pick. He's a great athlete. Game-changing athlete. That sure as hell is not what a quarterback is drafted in the first round for. You could bring up a Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is the exception, not the rule. Like, that dude had a catered offense that was, the whole entire team was designed for Lamar Jackson, and he is developed incredibly well. That is the exception, not the rule. So I would absolutely hate this because I don't think for Jalen Milroe that the Steelers is the place for him to truly thrive and shine. And we're not even using Justin right now. So I don't really think Jalen Milroe would be utilized properly either. Then we got Baltimore Ravens go Jahdae Barron. So he has day 2. Oh, interesting right here. Interesting that they have day 2 grades on him, which I guess makes sense, 3rd round. But Baltimore Ravens going Jahdae Barron. I've heard rumors that he's going to be kicked to the slot, man. Sub 6 foot, shorter arms, like, really smart player, though. I think I'd want him on a team where he could even potentially play safety, which I guess Baltimore, you could end up having him flexing around and kind of being a Swiss Army knife there, which, I mean, as a Steelers fan, I wouldn't like, but I think actually might be a good fit for him. Wyatt Milam goes to the Packers at 27. Wyatt Milam was fun to see in person. Granted, I didn't get to see him play, but he was pretty fun to, like, look at in person here in Dallas. But Wyatt Milam has had a fantastic year. He's definitely, I think, might be rated a little bit higher than what I expected. But at the same time, got to respect it. He had a fantastic year. Green Bay going offensive line in the first. I think they have too many deficiencies on defense. But we'll go from there. Cam Williams goes to the Philadelphia Eagles at 28. This is the stout dream right here, and I would fully support this. Kenneth Grant goes to the Buffalo Bills at 29. Super low floor, but super high ceiling defensive interior. But super high floor in terms of personality. You're not going to, regret taking Kenneth. You just might regret taking him in the first because maybe his development curve is a little longer than what the Bills are looking to get. But regardless of that, I think that the Bills are getting themselves a high-motored player who's going to be a great locker room presence because this dude works his ass off. You see it every game. This guy has a great motor. And so you actually eventually will be developing him properly. Just maybe might get frustrated early on as he's continuing to grow. Vikings go Omar Norman Law. I love Norman Law. I think this dude's a super stud. Great pickup there for the Vikings if they can't trade back. Then you get the Lions going Tyler Booker. Perfectly fine with this. Very reasonable pick. If the tight end or if the edge rushers are going to be slipping, take the advantage of the offensive line. So that's perfectly fine with me. Great choice there. And then ending this off with Tyler Warren to the Chiefs would make me vomit just because of how he does him. The Chiefs cannot continue doing this. This is devil's magic. I mean, I would be almost confirming that the Chiefs are a satanic cult to be able to curse the NFL to pass Tyler Warren down to them. I'll just put that there. But Tyler Warren's been fantastic. Would be an amazing replacement for Travis Kelce. It would be unfair. But that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for everything. I love you guys. Merry Christmas. I'm going to be posting it before, but I hope you guys have a great holiday season. See you on the far side.